Good,
Hello.
good afternoon.
It's so good to see you. How are you?
Well, I'm good, thank you. How are you?
I'm great. I wanted to show you what I just did. So this is my gratitude journal.
Oh my goodness.
It says 101 joys make a rainbow.
Oh, fantastic.
And for page 54, I just wrote Paul Williams. And it
Well, take that down right now. I want
and I
to.
couldn't believe it that it was number 54 because that number is very significant. I did 54 list items. I went to Super Bowl 54. And my dad was 54 when he passed away.
Wow. Oh, that's fantastic.
Isn't it great when you get those little winks like that?
Well, my whole thing is, as you can tell, there's a part of me that refuses to grow up, and my TV room looks like a kid's playground, playground, whatever. But there's a plate in our kitchen that usually Mariana writes, a quote on that is impressive. And the one that's there right now is sell your cleverness and purchase bewilderment. It's a Rumi quote.
Oh, I love that.
Sell, sell your cleverness.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Just, oh my God. And this whole thing is the longer I live and the more I dive into it, it's that mystical part of this whole deal that keeps me totally engaged.
Me too. Me too. Well, I'm so grateful to talk to you and you're giving me a little bit of your time. I really appreciate it. This is so special.
Oh, my pleasure. I was so moved when I saw the CBS morning show, and it was
Oh,
just,
really?
yeah, and then so yeah. Oh, that who isn't? How can I be moved by that? And then even more so when I made the comment about the grieving process and the like, but then you're focused on creativity and I think we're so much more powerful than we realize. I think that once we begin to trust our unconscious and our intuition, we just I'm 35 years sober, and when I got sober, the big word was surrender. I was like, and so my morning prayers are, well, I should, maybe save some of this, but my morning prayers are surprise me, God, and lead me where you need me,
Yeah. Yep.
and
Yeah.
so writing became just, I began to just empty myself and go, what you got, for me today? You read the script, you know what the song needs to be about, and literally start reading a novel and then go, wait a minute, and write it down. That's basically the way I wrote almost every song on my first totally sober song score, which was the Muppet Christmas Carol.
Well, let's get right into it then. I do have a few questions for you that I thought maybe our viewers in Greensboro would be interested in. And you just tapped on one of them. I was wondering what your process was for writing, because for me personally, I don't know if you can tell, but I'm very into crystals. So when I started writing my book, I had a whole routine. I would get like the smudge, the sage, the sweetgrass. I'm like cleaning the crystals and I was putting all of my fears into the crystals. That's what I would do. And I would hold my little green aventurine heart and I'd say, I trust it all with my whole heart. And I would do things like I had a lapis lazuli, for the throat chakra, and I'd say, I believe in the words I'm using, things like that. Do you have anything that you do that gets you into your what I like to call the writer's mind?
Well, it's been a process, but I was so enamored with the writing process, and I finally found what it is that I wanted to do and could do, and it was a big, huge surprise for me because I was basically just an out-of-work actor who
Uh-huh.
began writing songs and just loved it. But I also found that there was, as my career grew and as I was moving through the projects, that I had this tendency to like not jump into them right away and it got to the point where I would go, oh, what was all happening again and again was that, oh my God, it's due. The deadline was the prod to. And I have a friend who's a composer, and I mean Richard Bellis, and I told him what my tendency to postpone in that fashion, and he says you're not, yeah, you're percolating instead of procrastinating.
Yeah.
That's it. So, and I went, oh my God, that's right. And what eventually emerged was the best way I can describe the writing process to somebody that is amazed with it or whatever is that you know how you'll try to remember somebody's name and you can't, or try to remember a phrase and and you abandon it. You just go, damn that, I know this person, I've known him since high school, you know what, and you let it go. And an hour later, you're washing the car or do whatever, and it pops into your head. Who's up there looking through the you know the index cards for that name and all? When and it occurs to me that real search does you know the real beautiful work by our unconscious. And
Absolutely.
the quicker I can get out of the way. And so now it's it's like my morning prayer, lead me where you need me. I surprise me, God. It implies complete surrender. Here are the reins of my day. You're doing an amazing job. I never got high enough to look over the horizon into the future. But I trust that it's exactly where I need to be, and that's the information I want. Where can I do the most good? And inevitably, and it sounds so, oh my God, he's so evolved and such a nice guy. There's a bit of selfish in it because it's always the best thing.
Well, you have to have a little bit of that to be an artist, I think.
So,
The enjoyment of the creating. Yeah, but I mean, I got so excited to talk to you. I didn't even give them your bio. I just assume everybody knows who the great Paul Williams is. But
oh,
for the people in Greensboro who are watching this before we're about to launch into the wonderful Muppet movie, which had such an impact on me and my father and my relationship with him, uh, just so you know, the man I'm talking to you right now really, I think, wrote the soundtrack of the 70s in many ways and continues to write soundtracks of many movies. Currently working with Guillermo del Toro, is that right? And J.J. Abrams?
exactly, Pan's Labyrinth, exactly.
And worked with just some of the greats, Karen Carpenter, Barbara Streisand, Jim Henson's Kermit, and my husband's favorite, Emmett Otter, Daft Punk. I'm sure you hear this, you hear your bio over and over and over again. So this is like nothing new for you, but I do want to make sure our viewers are watching
Yeah,
that. But, I was watching so many of your interviews over the past week, and the thing I was really excited about was an interview you gave where you talked about the origin of the phrase rainbow connection. Can you tell everybody that story, where that
yeah.
came from?
Well, first of all, I had, the beginnings of my relationship with Jim Henson was appearing on the Muppet Show, and it was like I'd never been a member of a gang that had a treehouse. And when I walked onto the set with all those Muppet performers, I felt like I was in a treehouse with my guys. It was just wow. It was a great play date. And he maintained that. He was not controlling. He was organizing but not controlling. And it was just amazing. The first thing I did was Emmett Otter's Jug Band Christmas, and it was just a magical family to join through the years and all. But when he asked me to do Emmett Otter's Jug Band Christmas, I think it was actually an audition for the Muppet movie.
Oh, interesting.
Because it was, this was a big deal. This was their first feature film. It was Muppets working with actors, and my God, what a cast they put together from everybody from Orson Welles to, James Coburn, to Bob Hope, Richard Pryor, amazing. So I wanted the melodies to be beautiful and classic. And I'd been writing on A Star Is Born. I'd been working on immediately before, short like a couple years before. And Kenny Asher and I had become pretty much full-time collaborators. We wrote most of the songs for A Star Is Born. We wrote You and Me Against the World together.
Helen
And I,
Reddy.
Jim, he's a wonderful composer. And I said, This will raise my melodies are." I felt he would add that beautiful classical touch, and he did. He did. His music is amazing. So we sat down to write the first song, which is Kermit. We had a meeting at my house in the hills, West Hollywood Hills, and I looked at the script, the basically at that point it was, story points and evolving, and uh, and I said, how does this open? And he said, well, the heart of the film really is going to be just it's and he's sitting in the swamp singing. And He's singing, yeah, but and he said playing a banjo. Banjo adjusts everything a little bit. It's
Yeah.
like, because I love that the Americana in that, but I also love the depth of emotion that can be in that, you know. So Kenny and I are going, all right, he's sitting in the swamp. He has air, light, and water. What does he have to work with? And what we really wanted to do was show Kermit's inner life that this is a thought, this is the Jimmy Stewart
Yeah,
of our day. You know,
he
he
really
is
is.
absolutely amazing wisdom in this man, and tolerance and patience and great humor. So we thought, okay, he's got rainbows, and the first thing we did was, basically, I mean, the opening lines, were showing that he was aware of culture and he was sophisticated. Why are there so many songs about rainbows and what's on the other side? Rainbows are visions, only illusions. Rainbows have nothing to hide. And we looked at each other and we went, oh no, we just denied any magic in rainbows. We just made, just stripped it to pure science, and it was like, oh, what have we done? And in a way, it was the universe providing an opportunity for Kermit to do something that I think is key to the song and the movie, and I think part of Kermit's availability to all of us. At that point, he steps away from the podium, sits down metaphorically with the audience and says, so we've been told, and some choose to believe it. I know they're wrong, wait and see. Someday we'll find it. The lovers, the dreamers. And for some reason, we got everything in the song, and it was getting that title and that title line was very difficult. And I was married to a wonderful lady named Katie, the mother of my children at the time, our children, and we're sitting at the dinner table and we're talking about it, and she said, what do you got, what's going on? I said, well, we're trying to establish that, the connection between rainbows and people. There's got to be some sort of rainbow whatever, anyway. So we're going on and on, and she said, well, you said it three times. The phrase that is popping out is rainbow connection. I went, oh my God, that's perfect. And you know what? And I tell that story because it's a classic example of getting so close to what feels like a problem, and you're deciding that it is. So then you're off in Solutionville, and it's just,
Yeah, it's just right there, and then you just need a mirror to show you. Like,
yeah,
listen, you're saying it. Yeah, I mean that song is just. My father used to sing it all the time. He was a beautiful singer, and he sang in piano bars and things like that.
wow.
And he loved singing that song. And yeah, and it's funny because I even realized today the fourth item on his bucket list was have 5 songs recorded. And who better than Paul Williams to talk to about you made a living out of having your songs recorded by people. But when
Well,
I chose that song though, Paul, at the end, I realized this is so perfect for my story because here my dad wrote this list. And when I first saw it, I didn't totally believe it. I thought, I don't know if I can do this thing. But
yeah.
as I lived it, and which I think you're a perfect example of in your life, as you let go, as I did when I went skydiving, I heard the phrase in my head, let go, and you surrender to what your path is supposed to be and you just trust in it. That's really what that song means to me.
I think, yeah, it is. And there's a phrase I wrote a book called Gratitude and Trust
I
with
know
my.
I need to get it. I saw your Oprah
Well,
interview.
one of the affirmations is, I don't know how to do this, but something inside me does. So
Exactly.
with just the statement of that, and incidentally, I don't think it's just the powers and the words. The powers in feeling the words and being comforted by it. To have an affirmative prayer that says something wonderful is coming and I can feel it. To say that the words are important, but to feel it like a kid who just like thinks there's a bike in that garage right now and it's already there. Oh my God. You empower it
Yeah.
because you're telling the universe that I don't know. My favorite, I think my philosophy is in another lines from two other lines from the Rainbow Connection. That's, who said that every wish would be heard and answered if wished on the morning star. Somebody thought of that. and someone believed it. Look what it's done so far. And it's the power of faith and the embracing of all possibilities, without fear. If, I'll be 85 September 19th. And there are moments when I cannot come up with a name. And I realized that if I'm telling a story and I need a name, and the person I'm talking to, it's like I turn into this, and I become obsessed with it. But I notice as soon as the person is out of the room, it pops into my head, and I go, fear, get the fear out of your life because it's the anxiety that's keeping the words away.
Yeah. Yeah, that's I mean my prayers, thank you God for my life. That's what I
Yeah.
like to say. I say it when a good thing's happening and I'm amazed, and I say it when a bad thing's happening too. Because I recognize, as you said, I've heard you say many times in your interviews, no is a gift. Can you tell our viewers what you mean by that?
Yeah, well, if you're marching with great intent and great confidence towards something that's the wrong thing for you, sometimes when that door slams, I got sober uh, 35 years ago and was given this new life, turned away I didn't turn away from music, but I just became passionate about recovery. All of a sudden, my connection to the world had always been through my music, but amongst men and one on one, I was usually kind of cynical and I, lived by the short joke, and it was all of a sudden, yeah, to be embraced by the recovering community. All of a sudden I loved this. This was family. This is what I had been missing with my uniqueness. I wasn't unique at all. And so for several, I mean, I wrote. The Muppet movie the Muppet Christmas Carol was the first thing that I wrote, but I never really collaborated with anybody else. So about 6, 7 years into my recovery, I get cast in a fantastic movie called The Frighteners with Michael J. Fox.
Oh yeah, yeah.
Oh my God, I love Michael J. Fox,
I
and
love him too. He's really
but
important to me.
and shooting in Australia or New Zealand rather, and I'm like, where we're making the deal and all that, and then I get a call that from the agent that says, you know what, they found the guy they really wanted, Sean Astin evidently, or John Astin couldn't do it before, but that fell apart or something, and now he's available, and I didn't even have a heartbeat of disappointment. My immediate reaction was, wow, what's coming? And the
Right.
phone rang the next morning, and it was an organization in Nashville, and they do a thing called Tin Pan South, and they said, "Would you come down? We'd like to honor you at the Ryman Theater and all." And I went, "Oh, I'd love that. I'd love that." And something about Nashville being in that town and the way it was treated and the passion for music and the respect for music and copyright and all that. Just all of a sudden, I turned into my little brother when I was singing, and he was like 4 years old. He'd go, "I can sing too," you know. I'm singing for the neighbors, and getting applause, and from behind the kitchen door, you hear Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer in the middle of July, even,
Of
and then
course.
they slam the door and go, "I can sing too." Well, I was a quieter version of that, but all of a sudden, I wanted to write, and I started writing again. So the gift that film not working for me, that film worked perfectly for me. That offer was exactly what I needed to prove a point to myself that the right thing is out there, and don't hang on to any opportunity don't leave those long stretches on the hallway as you leave that world for another one.
Yeah, I always like to look at it as like watch how you're defining things, you know? Like just wait a minute.
Yeah.
Like your
I have a
definition has
question
changed.
for you.
For me,
Yeah, I do, because this amazing process has obviously been so. it's been a great opportunity and a great moment of awakenings and growth and all those things in your life. And obviously, your connection to your dad has, I would imagine, has as close as you were in life, you felt that expanding, the just the awareness of really who he was through each of these tasks on the list. But but I wonder how much of that was already bubbling under in who you are, about how much of it, because you immediately just said, I mean, I assume it was pretty quickly when you looked at it, you went, I'm going to do these for him.
Well, I'm first of all, I'm honored that you had a question for me. But secondly, I think what I always tell people is I had primed myself for that moment. I really think so. Because for the few years but leading up to that moment, I had become an activist and I was helping other families who had lost someone in a car crash and speaking in schools. And then I became a runner. And I know you like to run too, and it's like that's just a huge part of my life, but there
Yeah.
was just something about the running that it was like I have a friend who calls it crunning. She would cry while she ran, and I think the
I've done
running was
that.
like cooling the grief out of me. Luckily, I do it in the evening, so there aren't very many people there. But really, it was, you know what it was? This is what it was. I became a person, and I was always fairly conscientious, right? But I became a person who suddenly was keeping my promises to myself. That's what it was. And when you become that person, even small things, right? Like I'm going to go walk a mile tonight. If you can keep that promise to yourself, then you're learning how to trust you. And I really think that's when the universe starts to provide these opportunities, you know?
Yeah, it does. And you may not sense it right away, but there's something that changes in the way people treat you, you know, because
Oh,
because I don't think we bounce back the anxiety that might have been part of what, just, I mean, I was always, always so positive and everything, but deep inside there was still, that I was, I was fractured in some ways. I was broken,
right,
but it's interesting because what you did, and even me, my response to you was about how important to have written this, how important and wonderful this must have been for the people, your readers and your fans, for to dealing with the grieving process. So what I saw first was, you relieving yourself of something, but then what is like, I'm sorry, I think it's just so much larger even, is that what you did is you replaced that, with becoming something instead of letting go of
right.
something.
Yeah,
And
well, yeah.
if I
Sorry, go
think
ahead.
that, if anything made your dad smile, that would.
You know what? I always looked at it like, I looked at it as he was showing me who I really was and who I had been as a young girl before the world got to me. And it happens, especially as a teenage girl. You can absorb too much of what society is telling you. No, you must be this, especially in this day and age, right, of social media and the comparison game. And I was a very sensitive and pensive and nervous kid, and this helped me. As I said, I think I said in an email to you recently, it's amazing what you can accomplish if you believe you cannot fail. And that
Yeah,
was really what it felt like. And I wrote about that in my book. I felt like my father was standing right behind me. And it's
yeah,
been the privilege of a lifetime for me that now I can teach other people that and I can help them believe in themselves and I have had some of my students tell me that they think they're not going to fail because I'm right there.
yeah. No, it's a great lesson. But the other thing is, you can replace the word with fail with finish. If I don't finish something, that's where the no as a gift clicks in. It's like,
Yep.
that's not, on the other side of that in recovery, like it's everything is about acceptance and acceptance. Okay, this is all, everything looks horrific out there, and I'll begin to really recover when I accept that and all. But then the clicker for that is like that's not approval. Acceptance is not approval. I
Right.
mean, I mean, as we look at the world and it begins to
Yeah.
shift in ways that kind of make us go, like,
I'm
what's
really happy you said that because that's exactly how I feel about my dad's death. It's not like I accepted in my heart that he died this way as part of his blueprint for his life and in
yeah.
relation to mine, but that doesn't mean distracted driving is acceptable. It's the same kind of thing. acceptance, but
No.
not approval. But we're about to, or at least the people in Greensboro are about to watch a movie after this segment. Oh, is that your cat?
Yes, it's Stormy. This is
Aw.
Stormy. And when she gets a certain vibe, she goes, I just got to be a part of that for a minute.
Oh, this is my
Usually it's
cat,
like this
Pinky.
where people go, "Why? I didn't know Paul Williams had a tail." You know? Oh my God, what? Oh,
She
that's
just
your
passed
baby?
away. Yeah, 2 weeks ago she just passed away. She was
Oh
17
my
years
God.
old. Yeah.
That's tough. That's one of the that's an equally difficult, transition for me. A lot. It feels like such a loss, and
Yeah.
I also, one of those crazy old guys that talks not only talks to his cats all the time, uh, but I think I feel the other ones around too. They're hanging, you know.
Oh yeah, I mean, I'm so happy I started to surrender to that, started trusting. I mean, even today I'm flipping through my book and I see this one sentence I had in the first chapter, and I'll just tell you what it said. And I thought, oh, of course I flipped to that. This is what it says. My dad could see what I was doing, and he was cheering me on. Like of
Absolutely,
all the sentences I could find right before
exactly.
talking to you.
So you know what would be a great subject for us another time and all, but I could see us getting into a whole thing about past lives and also
Ah, yeah.
the others. Oh, stop it! My phone, my my ringtone is my ringtone is bad boys, bad boy. What you gonna do? What you it goes directly to my hearing aids,
That's
but
funny.
nobody.
My mother-in-law has a ringtone that's Jelly Roll's song, I'm Not Okay.
Oh, I love Jelly Roll.
Isn't that great?
Yeah, yeah, he's amazing. I love his comments about he was accepting an award and he talked about how important it was to realize that there was a great sensibility and don't get hung up in the past. There's a reason that rearview mirror is so small and the windshield is so big. It's
I love
appropriate.
that. I love that idea. That's
Yeah.
great. Well, I want to ask you, I'm so curious about this because we were talking about movies and how lucky I've been to get to curate an entire film festival essentially around my book. And I'm curious if you had a Paul Williams film festival, then what movies do you think you might choose that have
Well,
influenced you?
your list was amazing. There are so many films on there that I absolutely love and all. There are a couple films that I one at some point and not a long time ago, but recently saw saw a connection between part of a film and something that's been a big deal with my dad was killed in a car wreck uh, drinking when I was 13. I was shipped off to live with an aunt and uncle. One of my favorite films ever was How Green Was My Valley.
Yeah, I saw you say that in an interview. That's one of my mom's favorites too.
Yeah. Yeah, it's fantastic. And with Roddy McDowall was a little shooting Battle of the Planet of the Apes. We were in Malibu, and I told him how much I loved that film. He was a little boy when he shot it, and he said, "Well, the Welsh village was right on that hill, and over
Yeah.
here it was so
Yeah, you
miss."
want to hear a really, really crazy coincidence though?
We were
Okay,
shooting it, but
that's right here. That's where that
oh
is.
my God. Oh yeah.
That's what I'm
Wow.
looking at in that picture. I know
Well,
exactly where it is.
oh my God, that's amazing. One more time.
Yep,
Embrace your bewilderment.
yep,
Uh, purchase bewilderment. I think, but there's the basic story is that in this Welsh mining town, Donald Crisp and his sons are miners, and they work in the mine, and they're trying to organize the mine, and Donald Crisp was like, "There'll be no talk of unions in this house, my boys," sitting at the table, and all his two adult sons, and at the end of the table, off to the side, is little Roddy, and the boys say, "Well, Dad, if we can't discuss it here, then we'll go someplace where we can. We disagree with you completely," and they get up and leave, and so all of a sudden, it's just Donald Crisp, the father, sitting at the table, this long table, noticeably, missing people, and little Rodney, and
beautiful. I remember.
there's an amazing moment where Roddy just kind of goes and sits in silence for a little while, and then he goes, Without looking up, Donald Crisp says, "Yes, my son. I know you're there." And it's so amazingly touching to me. And and I realized it's what I'd missed in my life, and what I look for sometimes in relationships, even that to have that father figure there, you know, and that's the amazing thing of the, to, how much of what is moral and important in the way I approach life, how much of that is a gift of Atticus Finch.
Yeah, the best, probably the best father ever in movies.
Yeah.
Don't you think? I think
Yeah,
so.
oh, I wish I had your list in front of me right now. They're great titles. They're all such good titles. And I
Yeah,
was really, I mean, first of all, I have to say that the idea of one city, one book at a time when, when it feels like libraries are almost under attack, and
yeah.
I've got a great t-shirt that says "I'm with the band," but the band is spelled Banned, and
Ugh,
it's got these amazing books across there. I mean, that have just sustained us, taught us, given us pleasure and focused our our conscious mind, on right behavior. And so to have the library, you know, do something this wonderfully aggressive and yet gentle and brilliant, to share what you have done with the entire city.
I'm so
It,
excited.
Again, and that's another. I mean, that made me emotional. That made me emotional because the librarian or the committee, whatever, at the library, made a choice that said, "This is." I know they had to go. There is such a life lesson here. This is a wonderful read, but there is a great life lesson here,
Yeah.
and change their environment that the library sits in, and the world that they live in, by changing giving the people in the city the opportunity to learn from you.
Well, no pressure, Paul. I'm gonna
Well,
do
you
my
did
best.
it. You already did it. I mean, they made that choice. You didn't. But you, this is a very noble, and I love Joseph Campbell, and
Thank you. My
and I
absolute
think that,
favorite.
oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
And,
You know what? You know what my Joseph Campbell line is? Joseph
uh,
Campbell is my hero.
the
Hero's journey.
hero's journey went. You know what? I think that also, the fact that I so totally responded, to the power of myth, is
Yeah.
because of the hero's journey, and I think that spoke to my ego. All of a sudden, all of a sudden, that label was placed on my recovery, and it made it something noble and adventurous, and I inserted myself into the myth as I was changing
No,
my life.
no, no, being a true hero isn't about your ego. It's about being about something greater than you.
Oh
That's what
yeah,
the real hero. Oh, totally. It's about transformation. You have to kill that
yeah,
dragon that says thou
exactly.
shalt.
And the way you do that is, not by wielding a sword, but by pointing to the power that can do that, and the grace that can do that.
Well, and sloughing off the skin of your ego.
Yeah,
Really
exactly.
the surrendering. So really that is you are a hero. It is about the hero's journey for you.
Layer
But
by layer.
we're running thank you. Well, Kermit's my hero too, and we're about to watch that movie. We're running out of time for our interview, which is making me really sad. But as the people in Greensboro are sitting and watching this movie tonight, and it makes me so excited that some of them are children probably and seeing it for the first time. What advice would you have for the fellow lovers and dreamers of the world during this time? That
Uh,
you can see in the Muppet movie in the way that they love each other and help each other out.
let let the world around you, the films you watch, the books, let them, let them embrace you, as opposed to, God, my whole thing is about recognizing your own inner power, and it's in becoming powerless, and willingly depending on this mystical, wonderful balance of the universe. In recovery we talk about having a higher power, a God of our understanding. I don't have a God of my understanding, too big, way too big. But I don't understand electricity either, but I use it. I flip a switch and it lights up my life. And so while I can't really identify my higher power, and I sense it. I sense that amazing presence of order, and I mean, you start examining, the rings of a tree, whatever, and our fingerprints, and the meaning of 12 and throughout, and this. They asked Albert Einstein if he believed in God. He said, "Well," he said, "I've spent my entire life studying plans, you
Yeah.
know." And he said, "I've never met a plan that didn't have a planner." So, it's I don't I mean, I think that if I think we have enough freedom and are empowered in a way that if we choose to specifically have a sense of our higher power as a human, I mean, of course I say, God, like, thy will be done. And I think that if, instead of he or she, it's almost binary. It's just like binary. It's like that, them. It's maybe that's the lesson in the stumbling through these pronouns sometimes, which is is wonderful. Is
Hey,
wonderful.
I'm a daughter who did the bucket list of a man from 1978, so I'm all about forgetting the pronouns.
Oh,
That's the picture
I
up there on the
stumble
wall.
over it all the time, but I've always been an advocate, and in 1978, I think it was, I took out a full page ad against Anita Bryant, basically saying, Mr. and Mrs. and she was the spokesperson for Florida orange juice.
Yeah.
Took out a full page ad in Variety that said, in response to Anita Bryant's crusade, Mr. and Mrs. Paul, in response to Anita Bryant's crusade, Mr. and Mrs. Paul Williams have stopped drinking screwdrivers. Yeah. And
Great.
yeah, but I had to, I mean, it was absolutely a human rights issue. You're going to tell
Yeah.
me that my children, cannot, be taught by, you know, guy, it's insane. It's insane.
Well, I'm so grateful to get to talk to you today. I'm so grateful that they're about to watch this wonderful movie. Um, and yeah, I could talk to you all afternoon. I wish recording weren't stopping soon. But
I
is there anything else that you might like to talk about Jim Henson?
No, what, Jim Henson was, I mean, one of the great moments in writing the Muppet movie with Kenny, is I think most telling about the kind of man that he was. There was no, when we got the script, we looked at where the songs were going to go, and after that first meeting at my house, I walked Jim to the car, his car, and I said, Jim, I know what a big deal this is. I want you to know that Kenny and I will show you as we're working on the songs. We'll show you what we're doing, make sure we're headed down the right path, and I don't want to have any surprises that don't please you and all. And he said, "Oh, Paul," he said, you don't have to do that. I'll hear them in the studio." So in that sentence, he displayed a kind of a trust in his choices. I think he trusted the people that he'd chosen to work with, and whether it's a Muppet performer or music or camera or whatever, he wanted them to feel that they were totally creatively a voice that was going to be heard and considered. So, but. in the as we looked at the script, we looked what where the songs were going to go and what they would probably be about. There was no song for a place in the movie that was just very impactful to me and to Kenny.
Oh, wow.
I have a home in Taos, New Mexico, and I've spent time in the desert. And that scene where they break down in the desert and they're all sitting around the campfire, and Kermit's off, having a conversation with himself about how he is failing, whatever. Well, Kenny and I started talking about, Gonzo is a landlocked bird. I think we're all landlocked birds. And he's seeing this spectacular sky. Those skies are stunningly beautiful when there's no light around.
Is it
On,
Joshua Tree? Is that where it is?
yeah, pardon?
Joshua Tree, right?
Yeah. So so we thought about, why not write something for this moment for Gonzo? So we wrote, "I'm going to go back there someday. This looks familiar, vaguely familiar. You know, I almost unreal, yet it's too soon to feel, yet close to my soul and yet so far away. I'm going to go back there someday." And we were so happy with the song. It has a line in there that I think I used in our conversation. There's not a word yet for old friends who just met. So we played it for Jim, and he was like, wow, my, so beautiful. Yeah. No, and that's the way he said it's not going to be in this film. Or at least that's what we assumed. And probably a day or two later, maybe it was even 2 days later, he came around and he said, "What do you think? What if at the fair scene, what if Gonzo buys a bunch of helium balloons for his girlfriend Camilla, the chicken, interspecies love affair, and and he buys too many, and all of a sudden it takes him up on a flight." And he has no fear. All of a sudden, what it does is it gives us a visual, a reason, for him to reconnect with that calling, the voice that calls the young sailors, the voice that calls, the flyers into the air. And it was such a beautiful example of he didn't just discard it.
Yep.
And he did not say no, he thought about it and found a way to use it because without what he'd come up with, you know, he was right. It motivated this sensation of, wow, why do I feel so at home in midair?
Yeah, it's so funny the way you just said that. I thought you were talking about Gonzo didn't discard it. Like he didn't discard the character of Gonzo, didn't discard that dream and that feeling, because that's what that song's about. And I just realized while you were talking about this for the first time, with as many times as I've seen the Muppet movie, I just realized why that scene connects with me so much.
Yeah.
Because doing my dad's bucket list, that those were my balloons.
Yeah, he hadn't discarded it. He had never discovered it because he's a
Right.
landlocked bird. He has not experienced something that, that out of the, being out, he's got arms instead of real wings and all. So he's sort of, he's an outsider, and I mean, I just thought it was a beautiful example of his creative style and his total openness to see something in its imperfect uh, as an imperfect fit and then make it fit. What a
Well,
man! What
yeah,
an
it's all about
amazing.
the collaboration, right? It's all about and it's so interesting because that's what the Muppets are like too.
Yeah, yeah,
That's how they work together.
absolutely, absolutely. And if I'm having a conversation, there's to me there is like when I'm talking to Gonzo, if I'm in a conversation with Frank Oz and Jim Henson and they've got Piggy and Kermit with them, there are one, two, three, four, five of us in the conversation, and Piggy will say things to me that Frank Oz would never say.
Yeah. Oh,
Frank,
yeah.
if
He was sort
there's
of tormented by playing her, wasn't he?
exactly, so
How amazing. Wow. Well, what a life you've gotten to lead. And I just love I watched an interview with you where you said might have even been the documentary that you made where you said that it really has been your work in recovery and helping people in a very like one-on-one fashion that has mattered more to you and is more, true to who you are today than even all of those years of these incredible and this incredible success you've had in the entertainment field. Can you talk a little bit more about why you think that is?
it's again, it's support of the mysticism. 5 years before I was born, two alcoholics found that if they helped another, they could stay sober.
Mhm.
So we get to keep the miracle by giving it away.
I love that.
For that to be a requirement, a necessary part of love and service is the the DNA of that organization, which I do not mention by name in a public setting. I
Right, of
honor
course. Yeah.
the traditions of that organization, but
Yeah.
everybody knows who I'm talking about and what I'm talking about. I would assume, and it just has saved millions of lives. 5 years before I was born, an idea was sprouted and grew to where it's helped millions of us.
Yeah.
Not and in every possible addiction. And for years and years and years, I've had people come up to me and go, "I wish we had those of us who are not alcoholics or addicts that we had something like what you guys have." And that's why, Tracy came up to me at a screening of the of Still Alive, the Paul Williams Still Alive, that
Yeah.
she heard me say that my future runs on the twin rails of gratitude and trust, and she said, "There's a book there." She said, "Because I wish we had something like that." So what we wrote is, and those six affirmations, are really the basic, ideas from Judeo-Christian and Buddhism, and it's just it's in a different language, something needs to change, and it's probably me,
Yeah.
Uh, I will learn from my mistakes and not defend them.
Yeah. I mean, it reminds me a lot of, so the other day I was in a thrift store and I bought this. I feel like it's pertinent this
Oh,
moment.
yes,
And and
absolutely.
it spoke to me because earlier I was telling you about the number 54. So for a long time, I used to think my dad was giving me a message every time I saw the number 88 because he died on August 8th, right? So I'm very focused on that day that he died, as you do with a tragic sudden death.
Yes.
In the middle of doing the list, I stopped seeing the 88s and I started seeing 54s. And then I went to Super Bowl 54, and up there it says Super Bowl. You know what it is in Roman numerals? 54. L
Uh,
I
yeah, of
V.
course.
L
Like,
I V.
oh my God, that's great. That's,
And I was
but
like, you're telling me to focus on living, be grateful for my life. Don't be
yeah,
angry that he lost his. You know what I mean?
yeah. But the fact is that also, like when you empower that expression, that specific word, and and you begin to, when you give it that definition, the universe begins to use it
Oh
and
my
include
gosh.
that definition in the way that the word is used. I mean, and for this kind of conversation that we're having, there was a time when we would have wound up in a dunking chair
I'm
or
sure.
locked up.
I'm sure. But you know
And
what? I see
we're proud of
54 at
that.
least twice a day. At
Yeah.
least since finishing this list, at least twice a day. It's 2:54 p.m. every day for me.
Well,
Is that reminder.
faith
My
is,
brain wants it, I guess.
yeah, faith again is it's that faith. And when I got sober, I realized that I thought about what it was like for me as an addict when I'm calling my dealer I desperately need for her to make a little delivery to the house. I was a cocaine and vodka were the staff of death, actually, for me, not life. But I remember calling them, calling the dealer, and I'm going, and she's not there, and I'm getting in the machine, and I'm trying to stay nice because I don't want to offend her. I don't want to lose this connection, and I need this connection. And I'm calling, and it's leaving messages at 2 and 3 in the morning even. And finally she answers, and she goes, "Hello," and I go, "Hi, hi." She said, "Yeah." I said, I really would really like to see you." And she said, "Well, yeah, I got that idea from the 12 messages you left." But the point of this is that as soon as she says hello, I know that she's going to be coming over soon. I can tell by the way she says hello that she's going to fix that. And now I haven't consumed anything that's mood altering, and yet I mean I weigh 100. I weigh right now I weigh like 124 or something. I weighed 187 when I quit drinking.
Oh,
So, all of a sudden, I'm like, wow, and look at you, you little stud muffin. You're a good-looking guy. I mean, I am free of the horrors of the craving.
yeah.
What's going on? What I'm experiencing is faith. I have faith that what she's going to deliver is going to restore me to that sweet, loving place. And it doesn't. What it does is it re-empowers the addiction and the cravings become the way to start my day with as great a pain as if it was an attack of sciatica.
What I wonder what advice you might have for people who are in the position that you were in and they know a transformation is necessary. You know, they can feel it. They got to make a change. And I think that relates to the idea of a bucket list too, because that is also going on a new mission that is very scary. And you wonder, how am I going to change? What advice would you have for those people who are just so used to this familiar version of them, even if something in them feels something's not quite right? Like I've heard you say in an interview, you were lying all the time. That's what it felt like to you, almost like you were wearing a mask because you
Yeah.
weren't being your authentic self. So, do you have advice for embracing that authenticity, which is so scary because it's like, are they still going to love me? That's what I think people wonder if I
Well,
change.
yeah, what I would say is that most likely, when I got sober, it was certainly not my intention.
Yeah.
It was somebody prayed for me, and they put together a prayer circle in Oklahoma City, and I had a total psychotic meltdown there. I mean, I was out of my mind for 45 minutes. Had to cancel the show or postpone until the next day, and I was a mess. And I found out 10 years later that the guy, the promoter, was also in the program, and I found out what happened when I did it the next day, and I told the audience that I'd had a reaction to my meds, which was the truth,
Oh,
you know, because that was my med. That's how I knew how to live life. But so I did the show. I got on a plane. And I drank on the plane coming home, and I called the dealer as soon as I hit the ground at LAX and all, and I was off and running. And 6 days later, 5 days later, rather, on a Saturday morning, it was a Monday when I flew up. On a Saturday morning, I got a phone call, and it was a psychiatrist, and he said, "Well, I found a place for you." And I said, "What are you talking about?" He said, "Well, you called me last night at home. Not sure how you got the number, but you said that you wanted to get sober. You said that you didn't want to drive with your kids in the car anymore, loaded, like your dad did. You didn't want to have to lie every day to cover up your addiction. And something about the line about my kids got through to me.
yeah.
Because I mean, my neighbor was Robert Mitchum. All I wanted to do was just go for it. But at that moment, in a total blackout, I called a doctor. And 10 years later, when I ran into that gentleman, he told me that they'd put together a prayer circle.
That energy, prayer works.
Yeah, exactly. Absolutely. So whether you want to be there or not, so if you're somebody that just, keeps putting it off, whatever, if you're going to pray for anything, don't pray, don't pray, don't necessarily pray for sobriety. Pray for the miracle of willingness.
Oh,
Pray for the miracle of willingness to have that those words come out of your mouth, whether you mean it or not, to say, I'm willing, let's try at least. I don't think I need this at all, but I'm willing to try. Is feels like a halfway bridge, but once you get medically detoxed, if you're sitting out there and going, Jesus, I can't keep doing this. I can't keep doing this. But as soon as you begin to, get the withdrawal, you go nuts and you want to, you want to just put it off for a few days, put it off for a few days. And if you can just find just make that, it's a half measure actually. I'm willing to try, and
I surrender.
and a lot of people, go to into rehab and leave against medical advice. But it's again, or they get sober and they last a few weeks or days or months, and then they go out again. Uh, or at 20 and 30 what years, people it still happens, and but again, there's information in each of those that can be used powerfully. I mean, when somebody comes back to a meeting and as a retread, it's there's just this for me that, oh my God, this is just a deep well of experience, and I want to hear about the prequel. I want to, what were you experiencing? What happened? What was going on? And when they share that, I mean, it may fall on whatever ears to most of the people in the meeting, but there's a good chance that there's one person who's going to go, "Oh my God, I was just thinking that."
Oh, because we're all the same deep
Thank you,
down, right?
thank you.
That's where
Yeah,
that to me, that's where God or creator is. It's in the space between you and me,
yeah,
and
exactly.
I really experienced that doing my dad's list. Those people who helped me, wow. I mean, something changed in each of their lives too. Because it was like, how often do you get a chance to do something that's purely altruistic just to help someone who's believing in a dream?
Yeah,
It's a beautiful thing. I had a question for you. I hope you're
I
not
I
annoyed by
love
this
that.
question.
I love that space that God is in the space between us.
Sure. Let's
Music,
Les Miserables.
music is in the space between the notes.
And isn't that's Victor Hugo, isn't it? Les Miserables, like love
Exactly.
is what how does that go? God is love or God, in the face of another person. It's something like that.
Yeah, I don't
Can't
know.
think of what it is,
I don't know. I don't know.
okay, so I have one last question for you, which I hope I'm really amused by it. I hope you're not perturbed by it. But have
Okay.
you seen the new Billy Joel documentary?
Oh my
Any
God.
chance?
Have I seen any? What?
Billy Joel, yeah, the new one.
The Billy Joel. No, I haven't, but everybody is telling me that it is just remarkable.
It's so good. There's a part in the documentary I felt like could apply to you. So they interview Paul McCartney in the documentary, and they ask him, uh, what's your favorite song of Billy Joel's? And Paul McCartney says, sometimes people ask me, is there a song that I wish I'm not going to do my McCartney impression. My husband would be, but I'm not. My dad would be too. But he says, is this, some people ask me if there's a song I wish I had written, it would be Billy Joel's Just the Way You Are.
Yeah,
And I thought,
exactly.
what a high compliment for Billy Joel. So
And
that's my question to you. If what is the song that you wish you had written?
well, it's not a matter of wish I had written, because there's so many of those. And when I hear a song that I wish I had written, it's interesting the way they're delivered. They're first of all very briefly delivered with jealousy. Oh my God.
Yeah.
Right? And then they inspire. And the
Yeah.
jealousy fades very quickly, but the inspiration lasts forever. My favorite songs, well, there are two that I've always quoted as my favorite songs, and there are others. I mean, Jimmy Webb's "I Was a Highwayman," is the most amazing song about reincarnation, and but the first one on my list is "Someone to Watch Over Me."
Oh, yeah, what a good one.
There's a
What a great
somebody I'm
song.
longing to see. I hope that she turns out to be. someone to watch over me.
What a beautiful
The
song.
lines in there, although I may not be the man some girls think of as handsome,
Yeah.
to her heart I'll carry the key. Spoke to me absolutely. And the other song that is an absolute favorite, and I think it's one of the most brilliant lyrics I've ever heard, and it's the most touching because it's not specifically to the, it's Vincent, Starry, Starry Night. Paint your portrait blue and gray. I mean, look at it on I mean, it just that song follows. It's a tribute to his brokenness and brilliance.
Starry,
On that,
Starry Night, you said? Oh, it's
it's
about Vincent Van Gogh.
Vincent Van Gogh, and on that starry, starry night when no hope was left in sight, you took your life as lovers often do. I could have told you, Vincent, this world was never. It was never. It was. This world was. It's. He didn't fit in. He was an outsider. I just did a podcast with with Billy Corgan, and
I saw it. I watched it last night.
isn't that
What a
wonderful?
connection. You talk
Isn't
about
that wonderful? We
rainbow
started
connection.
writing together. Yes, yeah, exactly. Smashing Pumpkins, but we started writing together, and Corgan's just amazing. I
Oh,
love
I
him.
believe it.
Yeah, so
I love the moment where he told you about his dad.
yeah, yeah,
Yeah, that was so that vulnerable connection you guys had. It was really, really beautiful.
yeah. And I love as he talks about the outsiders,
Yep.
the others, whatever. So at any rate, this has been, as I suspected it might be, just a delight for me. Absolutely.
Oh, for me too. Thank you so much. I would love to talk to you again someday. And this has been just a total privilege of a lifetime. And I love that we're leaving with someone to watch over me because my dad's certainly doing that today.
Absolutely. And as I have to mention my beautiful daughter Sarah, and
Yeah.
Sarah is an amazing woman, and she's got great taste in people. So I'm delighted to know you guys are friends.